Well, good morning and welcome to Rising. We have a great show for you today. What else would we have? Again, joined by Lindsay Granger. Nice to see you.
Happy to be here. You look refreshed for a rainy day.
Do I?
Yeah.
I feel so refreshed. Actually, I was just thinking, you know, sometimes you can't remember what you had like for breakfast even an hour later.
Yeah.
I can't remember what I wrote for my radar today, so I'll be finding out for the first time just alongside you.
And so will the audience. So what's on your radar?
Let's find out, shall we? The Democratic Shadow Cabinet. There it is. The Democratic Shadow Cabinet rises. I'm not sure this next one ranks in the pantheon of all-time bad ideas. It's much too trivial for that, but it was a big topic on social media yesterday, so let's get right to it. One mainstream media outlet, Politico, has a columnist who has proposed the Democrats convene a shadow cabinet to oppose Trump and his very real, non-shadowy cabinet. This shadow cabinet would have no real power, of course, so it's mostly just rhetorical opposition. Quote, it's a common feature of opposition politics abroad and could be a way for Democrats to flood the media zone and deliver a coordinated response to Trump's most wild maneuvers, writes Politico's Bill Scher, a liberal political writer. He notes that Democratic members of Congress serving as ranking members on various committees are in effect serving in such a role, but he thinks Democrats need public-facing cheerleaders and bomb throwers. Ranking members have their uses, they're good at reclaiming their time and making motions to recommit, but they are not the fresh faces who can give the Democratic Party a sleek, new look, he writes. So, who are these fresh, sleek faces the Democrats should center as their opposition leaders? Well, Politico did put forward a bunch of names that range from familiar and tired to unknown and pointless to weird stunt casting. If this is really the best you got, Team Blue is doomed. So here we go. Samantha Power for Secretary of State, General Charles Brown for Secretary of Defense, Jon Tester for Secretary of the Interior, Letitia James for Attorney General, Lena Khan for Secretary of the Treasury, John Boyd for Secretary of Agriculture, Governor Josh Green for HHS, and let's actually take a break there for a minute, because who are these people? Now, some of those names probably are familiar to you. I knew most of them. I didn't know all of them. Some are well-known, like Samantha Power and Letitia James, and are incredibly controversial. Are they the fresh new faces of the Democratic Party? Really? Actually, the wish list did have precisely two names that make sense for these jobs, if the job is to call attention to what a Democratic cabinet would do instead of a Trump cabinet. The two arguably smart choices are Jon Stewart for Veterans Affairs and Mark Cuban for Secretary of Commerce. Stewart and Cuban, unlike most of the other people on the list, are actual professional entertainers who are good at talking to people and blasting out a message on social media, on TV and podcasts, etc. They can get a message out, and they have built-in audiences who are not already converted to the Democratic cause, so that does make a certain amount of sense. I mean, just look at what Trump's done. His cabinet is disproportionately staffed by media figures and stars from conservative television. Pete Hegseth, Tulsi Gabbard, Sean Duffy, and others. Trump understands, I guess better than Democrats do, it's not enough to have the right ideas. You have to know how to sell them to voters and to viewers. Looks like the Democrats are, I think, still figuring that out. As Sean Spicer said in reference to this wish list, if this is the best Democrats can do, we are in good shape. But we have to talk about, by far, the strangest name on the list. Gisele Fetterman, wife of U.S. Senator Jon Fetterman, who Politico is recommending for Homeland Security, despite her having no relevant experience whatsoever, as far as I can tell. Write to me if I'm somehow wrong about that. Politico writes, Senator Jon Fetterman has become a highly controversial figure in the Democratic Party. His militaristic commentary in defense of Israel has alienated progressives. Leaks from former staffers have raised concerns about whether he's fit to serve in the wake of an extended hospital stay to relieve acute depression. But his wife, Gisele Fetterman, has none of the baggage and is a compelling figure in her own right. End quote. Imagine thinking that Gisele Fetterman is a better political operator than Jon Fetterman. Look, I know leftist Democrats don't like to hear this, but Fetterman has become more popular in his home state of Pennsylvania by adopting all those moderate stances that so infuriate progressives. Not less popular, more popular. This makes me think that if Democrats actually did have a charismatic, well-liked national figure who can speak to large, moderate audiences, perhaps even winning back alienated identity groups, a la the liberal Joe Rogan we keep talking so much about, they would probably ignore that person. In fact, someone in the mainstream media would probably have the bright idea, I guess, to give that job to the person's much more liberal wife. Good luck, guys. So did you see this list yesterday?
I did. I loved it. Brilliant. I thought that it was funny. You said this is a shadow cabinet, but Trump's cabinet is actually very shadowy with figures that have no relevant experience, just like Fetterman's wife. He filed it and listed it with people that just haven't done any jobs like this besides talk on TV, so they can schmooze and talk a good game. I think this is a great strategy. I talk about first steps and not kind of just relying on the criticizing Trump of it all to be your solution. And this is actually a solution that puts people in places, like you said, Mark Cuban, like Letitia James, that have actually gone up against Trump and will provide a response, like you mentioned in the article, daily, that actually combats and gives Democrats something to lean on as opposed to people just being silent. People are confused. Where are you? How are you fighting back against Trump? Are you just going to lay down and say, okay, whatever he wants to do? Like, people have been confused about where everyone who was complaining the entire election season has been. And so this is one strategy. I don't agree with all the names, obviously, but I think it's a step in the right a direction of also putting people, like you said, you don't know their names. So maybe we're actually putting qualified people that have interesting backgrounds and experiences as opposed to celebrities in positions of power. And that might be actually a good thing, a great thing towards progressing the country. And accountability happens through visibility. So when we're seeing these people and they're holding Trump accountable, and we have all these different people out here that can call it to attention a variety of different issues, I think that makes us all better. This is one plan, and I'm happy to see a plan from somebody that's not even particularly in the Democratic Party, an opinion writer, showing the way for what a solution may look like or start to look like.
Put Gisele Fetterman in charge.
No, I don't
of
agree with.
Homeland Security.
I don't agree with everything. I don't agree with everything.
Do you see how that speaks to my point? Like, what liberal brain thinking that Gisele Fetterman would be a better look? I know people on the left don't like him, but he's a popular senator in a swing state. He might actually be too physically incapacitated to serve. I'm not even arguing that. But to think you would swap one for the other, it's just like more liberal, more woke, more of that kind of thing. That's how many times does that have to be rejected by the people before Democratic operatives, or as you say in this case, yes, it's just a liberal journalist, before they realize that's not the solution?
I would have added other people to the list. I definitely would not have skipped over Stacey Abrams, who's been extremely effective in campaigning.
Abrams.
Yes, I definitely would have added her to the list.
Isn't she? I thought election denial was disqualifying offense.
No, I think that Stacey Abrams has done a lot to galvanize the grassroots vote. We've seen what she's done in past elections, even though she didn't win her own elections.
We'll try to tell her that.
Well, we know.
She doesn't react well to being told that.
We know that she has the staying power of somebody that belongs in the Democratic Party. You don't make parties up of people who haven't been there before and don't understand the lay of the land. We would have 10 Elon Musks in office, which we saw was an absolute disaster.
I wish we had 100. I wish we had 100 Elon Musks in office.
That's ridiculous. He did nothing but create a lot of chaos for many people and didn't really put a major dent in how much we're spending.
Well, I think that is unfortunate. Actually,
it's very unfortunate.
Elon Musk agrees with that, has been tweeting a little passive-aggressively lately, doing a lot of replies saying, yeah, I tried to reduce spending and it's impossible and they stopped me and the Republicans won't vote to actually do it and it's very disheartening. And I feel that, man.
Yeah, as coming in here as probably the most powerful outsider and leaving with your tail tucked between your legs is not something that...
I don't know if he's leaving with his tail tucked.
I think so. He's just in higher level conversations now.
If the richest and smartest person in the world can't even stop, stops like a sliver of reckless government spending, it's not a lot.
Well, I don't think it's reckless.
Despair, given to our despair.
USAID and people across the world. I don't think it's reckless.
Yeah,
but when somebody has no comprehension about how government works and just thinks they can run the government like a business, which it is not a private business, that's where you come into issues like we did with Elon Musk and Doge. But we'll still reap the benefits of his bad decisions for years to come. Well, coming up next, RFK Jr. cuts COVID vaccine recommendations for healthy pregnant women and children, a move that's caused swift backlash. That's next.